To general session, August 13th, 2019, and we'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance led by Commissioner O'Grady.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We'll start with need for a motion for approval of the minutes of May 30th, 2019 briefing session.
Move approval of the minutes.
Second.
Moved and seconded voting, Commissioner O'Grady.
Yes.
Commissioner Brown.
Yes.
Minutes have been approved.
Okay, public defender.
Resolution number 579-19. Resolution authorizing the transfer of general fund appropriation for increase in operational costs.
Good morning, Commissioners. Christy Clarizio, representing the Franklin County Public Defender's Office. This resolution for $73,380 is a request for transfer from fringe benefits to services and charges. The need for these additional charges relates to three different areas. One, the appellate unit has had an increase in the request for transcripts. Voir dire, PCC, and death penalty cases have increased, as has the cost per page. And we estimate we're going to be over budget by 29% by the end of the year. The Common Pleas Unit has exceeded their witness fee budget already this year due to an increase in the number of experts on cases like interpreters, second opinion psychologists, forensic cases that need interpretation of matter. And then we had a 5% increase in our monthly rent. So today, pending any questions, we're requesting your approval to transfer $73,380 in appropriations to help provide for services and charges through 2019 year end.
Sorry. Move if there's no questions. Move approval of resolution 579-19.
Second.
Moved and seconded voting, Commissioner O'Grady.
Yes.
Commissioner Boyce.
Yes.
Commissioner Brown.
Yes.
Resolution number 579-19 has been adopted.
Thank you.
Thank you, Christy.
Thanks, Chris.
Domestic Relations Corps.
Resolution number 580-19, resolution authorizing the first contract extension and modification with Trinity Service Group Incorporated to provide, manage, and operate a food service program for the Franklin County Juvenile Detention Facility in the amount of $320,000.
Good morning, Commissioners. Barb Reeves, Deputy Director. This resolution is requesting a contract modification and a one-year extension with the Juvenile Detention Center's food service vendor, Trinity. The modifications were made to the weekly menus and food items for the youth rewards program. Additionally, due to a decrease in the population at the facility, the contractor requested a sliding scale price versus a fixed price. Pending any questions, the court requests the approval of this resolution.
If there's no questions, move approval of resolution 580-19.
Second.
Moved and seconded voting, Commissioner O'Grady.
Yes.
Commissioner Boyce.
Yes.
Commissioner Brown.
Yes.
Resolution number 580-19 has been adopted.
Thank you.
Thank you. County Engineer.
Resolution number 581-19, establishing, altering, and widening of the Mernon Road drainage outlet, Prairie Township, Franklin County, Ohio, declared necessary.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
My name is Cornell Robertson, County Engineer for every resident, every day in Franklin County. With me today,
Fritz Crozier, Chief Deputy of Engineering.
Commissioners, this first resolution is for a drainage improvement in the southwest part of the county in Prairie Township. It will improve the drainage along Mernan Road into Hamilton Run. This resolution is for declared necessary and will allow us to move forward with the project.
If there's no questions, move approval of resolution 581-19.
Second.
Moved and seconded voting, Commissioner O'Grady.
Yes.
Commissioner Boyce.
Yes.
Commissioner Brown.
Yes.
Resolution number 581-19 has been adopted. Resolution number 582-19, establishing, altering, and widening of the Zuber Road Plum Run South Drainage Outlet, Pleasant Township and Jackson Township, Franklin County, Ohio, declared necessary.
Commissioners, this project is similar in that it's declared necessary also, and also for a drainage improvement. again in the southwest part of the county, including Pleasant Township and Jackson Township, for drainage improvement along Zuber Road into Plum Run. And again, this resolution will allow us to move forward with the project.
If there's no questions, move approval of Resolution 58219.
Second.
Moved and seconded voting, Commissioner O'Grady,
Yes.
Commissioner Boyce,
Yes.
Commissioner Brown.
Yes.
Resolution number 582-19 has been adopted. Resolution number 583-19, establishing, altering, and improving the vacant property located at 50 East Mound Street, City of Columbus, Franklin County, Ohio, declared necessary.
Commissioners, this is also a declared necessary resolution. However, it's for a project in downtown Columbus at address 50 East Mound Street. County has requested that the engineer's office help with administering the construction of a parking lot and addition of stormwater management. So again, this resolution will allow us to move forward, begin design, followed by construction.
If there's no questions, move approval of 58319.
Second.
Moved and seconded voting, Commissioner O'Grady,
Yes.
Commissioner Boyce,
Yes.
Commissioner Brown.
Yes.
Resolution number 583-19 has been adopted. Resolution number 584-19, establishing, altering, and improving the Madison Township Fire Station 182 parking lot located at 6600 Gender Road, Madison Township, Franklin County, Ohio, declared necessary.
This resolution is the fourth declared necessary resolution of the day. This is in the southeast part of the county. Madison Township has requested our help in designing a parking lot reconstruction, also administering the construction of that parking lot. And again, this resolution will allow us to move forward with the project, begin design, and so forth.
If there's no questions, move approval of Resolution 58419.
Second.
Moved and seconded voting, Commissioner O'Grady,
Yes.
Commissioner Boyce,
Yes.
Commissioner Brown.
Yes.
Resolution number 584-19 has been adopted. Resolution number 585-19, plans approved for the Franklin County Road Maintenance and Safety Program, Franklin County, Ohio.
Commissioners, as noted, this next resolution authorizes plan approval for the Franklin County Road Maintenance and Safety Program. This is a new program for our office, which includes 7 roadways throughout Franklin County. The work includes crack sealing, surface treatment, and fog coating of roadways, and will extend the life of the current roadways. Pending any questions, I'd ask for your approval.
If there's no questions, move approval of Resolution 58519.
Second.
Moved and seconded voting, Commissioner O'Grady,
Yes.
Commissioner Boyce,
Yes.
Commissioner Brown.
Yes.
Resolution number 585-19 has been adopted. Resolution number 586-19, plans approved for the improvement of the Roberts Road shared use path from West Rock Drive to Mudsock Trail, Norwich Township, Franklin County, Ohio.
Commissioners, this next resolution authorizes plan approval for the Roberts Road Shared Use Path from West Rock Drive to Mudsock Trail Improvement Project. It's a collaborative project between the County Engineer's Office and City of Columbus Parks and Recs. It includes the construction of a shared use path and stormwater BMP. Completes a missing link of pedestrian infrastructure in the area. Pending any questions, I'd ask for your approval.
If there's no questions, move approval of 58619.
Second.
Moved and seconded voting, Commissioner O'Grady,
Yes.
Commissioner Boyce,
Yes.
Commissioner Brown.
Yes.
Resolution number 586-19 has been adopted. Resolution number 587-19, resolution awarding contract and approving contract bond to Strouser Paving Company Incorporated for the City of Groveport Village of Obet's resurfacing program, Franklin County, Ohio, in the amount of $2,768,783.31.
Commissioners, as noted, this final resolution seeks to award the contract and approve the contract bond to Strouser Paving Company, Inc. for the City of Groveport and Village of Obet's resurfacing program. Strouser was selected via the competitive bid process with a bid opening on July 24th, 2019, and Strouser had the lowest and best bid. Pending any questions, I'd ask for your approval.
If there's no questions, move approval of Resolution 58719.
Second.
Moved and seconded voting, Commissioner O'Grady,
Yes.
Commissioner Boyce,
Yes.
Commissioner Brown.
Yes.
Resolution number 587-19 has been adopted.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You. Sanitary engineer.
Resolution number 588-19, resolution authorizing a contract agreement with Tribute Contracting and Consultant, LLC, for the National Pike Little Farms Neighborhood Water Main Replacement Project, Phase 1, in the amount of $5,056,620.32.
Good morning, Commissioners. Ryan Stowe with Sanitary Engineering. Sanitary Engineers requesting the authorization of a construction contract with Tribute Contracting and Consultants for Phase 1 of the National Pike Little Farms Water Main Replacement Project. This project involves replacing the existing 6-inch cast iron water mains on Buena Vista Avenue, Maple Drive, and Pasadena Avenue, and in the New Rome area, which were installed in the 1920s and 1950s with new 8-inch ductile iron pipe. The work includes installing approximately 17,200 feet of new pipe, replacing 15 hydrants, relocating 21 existing hydrants, and full-width pavements of the aforementioned roads. In addition, 344 water services will be transferred, and new meters will be installed in pits located in the right-of-way at every residence. Project cost will be paid by loans from the Ohio Public Works Commission and the Water Supply Revolving Loan Account, which is jointly administered by Ohio EPA and the Ohio Water Development Authority. Funding from OPWC has been awarded, while funding from OEPA is anticipated to be awarded in September this year. Bids were received via the ITB process and were reviewed by the sanitary engineer and their consultant. And Tribute Contracting was determined to be the lowest and best bidder for a total contract sum of $5,056,620.32. Tribute was thoroughly vetted and came highly recommended from other municipalities and engineering firms. Construction will start in September of this year and will be completed in August of next year. Pending any questions, I request the passage of this resolution.
Move approval of 588-19.
Second.
Moved and seconded voting. Commissioner O'Grady?
Yes.
Commissioner Boyce?
Abstain.
Commissioner Brown?
Yes.
Resolution number
Voted twice.
588-19 has been adopted.
If only. I'd like to vote twice.
Thank you. Community partnerships.
Resolution number 589-19. Resolution authorizing a funding agreement with the Ohio Department of Health to support a tuberculosis detection and treatment program and administer medically approved courses of treatment in the management of individuals diagnosed with tuberculosis.
Good morning, Commissioners. Dana McCrary, Community Partnerships. The resolution, as stated, will allow us to receive reimbursement for the increasing number of tuberculosis cases that we are seeing in Franklin County. This resolution will have us receiving $410,742,000, and that is for 57 cases of TB, up from 32 in 2016. So we really have seen quite an uptick. So pending any questions, I would respectfully request the approval of this resolution.
Move approval of 589-19.
Second.
Moved and seconded voting. Commissioner O'Grady?
Yes.
Commissioner Boyce?
Yes.
Commissioner Brown?
Yes.
Resolution number 589-19 has been adopted.
Thank you.
Justice policy and programs.
Resolution number 590-19, resolution authorizing a contract modification with Bailey Stobart and a year 2 contract extension with Karen Leffler for peer support services through the fiscal year 19 Franklin County Public Health Reallocation and SAMHSA MAT MPDOA grants in the amount of $22,500.
Good morning, Commissioners. Michael Daniels, Director of Justice Policy and Programs. This, as stated in the resolution title, is an extension of a contract with Bailey Stobart and a year 2 contract with Karen Leffler, who all of us know as Jen, to continue to provide peer support services for primarily the women who were involved in our Pathways and other programs. Pending any questions, I'd ask for your approval.
There's no questions. Move approval of 590-19.
Second.
Moved and seconded voting. Commissioner O'Grady?
Yes.
Commissioner Boyce?
Yes.
Commissioner Brown?
Yes.
Resolution number 590-19 has been adopted.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you. Public facilities management.
Resolution number 591-19, resolution authorizing the execution of an easement to the City of Columbus, Ohio for the purpose of obtaining electricity service to the new Franklin County Corrections Center.
Good morning, Commissioners. Vivian Alexander, COO for Public Facilities Management. This resolution is necessary to grant an easement to the City of Columbus Division of Power to permit their entry onto the Franklin County Correction Center located at 2551 Fisher Road. Excuse me. If there are no pending questions, we request your approval of this resolution.
I do have a question for you. I know, Director, we had talked about the grid to which we were tapping into for the facility, and at the briefing, you'd indicated you thought it was AEP, and if I remember correctly, since you realized it was City of Columbus?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And the reason why I asked that, and this is, if you don't mind, I'd like to just give a little background on it. The grid that is the City of Columbus grid is an older grid that is, its capacity has been long under review, we'll say. Can you tell us a little bit about the assurance that they're not going to be that the grid can host that kind of pool on it, considering the facility will be 24/7, intense use of electricity, and then regionally there are some issues there too, because as you know, that's one of the older parts of Columbus, that area, and so the infrastructure there is not in every place as advanced as it is in other parts of Columbus, say downtown, or some of the newer areas that have been developed, like Polaris or whatever. But if you could just, I'd like some assurance that that grid is has been reviewed at a level that assures us there won't be any outages or problems that we can anticipate.
Yes, so prior to the construction of the project, there was some conversation between individuals from Franklin County and the City of Columbus to discuss the capacity that would be at this facility, and it was determined that the grid could support that.
Okay. So is anyone from Pizzuti here? No? Okay. I just want to follow up, if you could follow up with me on that, because I'd like a little more detail about the review.
Okay.
And I'm only digging into this a little bit because I have history with the City of Columbus's grid as a former city council member, and I know it well. I know the issues well, and so I'm not aware of a substantial upgrade of that, but I'd like to know more.
Okay.
Because it's easily that I'm out of the loop and don't know, and so I'd love to learn more about it. But what I don't want, and I'm just going to say this for the record, what I don't want is 3 years from now some all-out failure on the grid, and our jail is affected, because I will circle back to this day in this meeting when I asked about it. But I could
probably add a little more too, Commissioner, and I'll still get with Pizzuti, but I know that the engineers from both sides reviewed and discussed that. I know it happened prior to my arrival. I have, this little bit of information, but I will obtain more information that satisfies you.
And let me say, I trust that you all are on top of it and have measured it in every way appropriately. I just, knowing the history that I know about it, I'd like to see what the review turned up and where the upgrades were and whatnot. So I'm just a little more curious, but I trust that
I'll be
you
more
all
than
are
glad
on
to
top
do
of it,
that.
yeah.
Commissioner, County Administrator Wilson.
Good morning.
Some things.
Good morning, Kenneth Wilson, County Administrator. I'd like to help our Assistant Director out here. I'll have to go on record and say that I was one of those Franklin County officials that has been in discussions with the city over the course of several months leading up to the construction of this facility. The Department of Public Utilities very much wants to be the provider, and that's what engaged us into those conversations. And we have got those assurances that they're not only the electric infrastructure, but they made commitments related to other infrastructure needs that they will support the county as we continue through this construction. So we do need to follow up. We'll get you to hear this directly from our owner's representative, but I myself personally have been engaged going back even, I believe, into the prior administration when we began to have these conversations of the city wishing to be the first provider. And of course, we'll have backup electricity like we do in all of our buildings, but they wanted to be the primary provider. And that was important for them because at some point we were looking at the future of Jackson Pike coming off the grid. We've since evolved in our thoughts around when exactly Jackson Pike goes off the grid, but the city was interested in not losing capacity and not having the capability of picking up additional electric services on their grid. So I hope that helps, but I, along with Deputy Administrator Chris Long, have been over the course of 2 directors of public utilities working through this as we looked at the larger picture.
I do appreciate that, Administrator, and that's helpful. But I still want to see the technical review of the capacity. And I only say that again just because I have a little more history with that grid, and so and a little more sort of experience on the other side. I know Columbus wants the customer service there, and there's a strategy with them as to the more customers, the more resource you have to sort of maintain it, upgrade it, and all those things. And so that's logical. But I just I'm unaware of the upgrades that they've done on a capacity issue, and I just want to know what they are. I just want to know that they've been done, and not that I'm going to be able to read some technical analysis but to know that they were done, and when they were done and what was done is. I don't think it takes an engineer to read the report and understand that.
Understood, because chaos is created when you have public safety facilities and you have a risk of power failure.
And we
I
don't.
totally understand.
And I trust everything you're saying, and the county leadership. I'm very confident about our side of the review. I just want to be sure, and I'm sure my colleagues would like that assurance as well. I mean, it's one of those things where. The difference between AEP's grid and the City of Columbus' grid is like, I don't know, a mansion versus an apartment. It's just it's not the same.
It's important. Well, it's important though for you to feel, for you to have some comfort level with this. There's no question. We've been down this road, since you. I mean, you arrived in 2017, and a lot of our projects, not just this one, have predated your time here. So it's important for you to have the comfort level. I mean, as Administrator indicated, I mean, this conversation went back, I believe, to the Coleman administration and back to when Director Davies was in charge of public utilities, and we started those conversations back then. So it's important for you to have that comfort level. There's no question about it.
But it never hurts to have that check, so I support what you want to do. I think
we're in the Trust but Verify Business Commission.
Absolutely.
So I totally understand your position.
And I guess the point I just want to emphasize on is that, again, that grid is an old grid, and there is a history there, and I'm just not aware, and I trust everything everyone said. I know the jail has been cooked up for a long time, and very much was not a part of the development of that.
Let's not use that phrase. Let's not use that phrase.
Oh, right, okay. That might not be the right one, but you get what I'm saying. I think that I just want some assurance that on a technical level, we're not tapping into something that's going to overwhelm that grid. And I'm sure that's everybody's. Who am I to question that? But again, just knowing the history that I have with that grid, the knowledge, I just want to know what the upgrades were and when they occurred, and how Columbus has assured us of its capacity.
And for the viewing audience, Commissioner Boyce was a member of Columbus City Council, and that was your committee, right?
No, it wasn't. I wasn't public. Well, it was no. I was a finance committee.
I got you.
But we were trying to do a lot of the upgrades on the grid through finance committee.
Gotcha.
So that's where the connection is.
Gotcha.
Okay.
All right. Well, if there's no further questions, I will move approval of Resolution 591-19.
Second.
Moved and second voting, Commissioner Grady?
Yes.
Commissioner Boyce?
Yes.
Commissioner Brown?
Yes.
Resolution for 591-19 has been adopted.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, purchasing.
Resolution number 592-19, resolution authorizing the fourth of four allowed contract extensions with Leo Myers Incorporated for staff uniforms for various county agencies in the amount of $70,000.
Good morning, Commissioners. Megan Perry Balanier, Director of Purchasing. This first resolution requests approval of the fourth and final contract extension with Leo Myers Incorporated, a vendor located here in Franklin County, for the provision of staff uniforms to various county agencies, primarily the Franklin County Engineers Office and Public Facilities Management. This extension will be in effect through April 27th of 2020. Pending any questions, I recommend approval of this resolution.
If there's no questions, move approval of 592-19.
Second.
Moved and second voting, Commissioner Grady?
Yes.
Commissioner Boyce?
Yes.
Commissioner Brown?
Yes.
Resolution number 592-19 has been adopted. Resolution number 593-19, resolution approving purchases for various Franklin County agencies in the amount of $1,795,902.54.
Commissioners, this resolution seeks approval of 74 purchase orders for which the county auditor has pre-certified available funding. The resolution includes 10 eligible POs totaling approximately $61,000. These are POs for goods and services that have a higher likelihood of participation by small and emerging business enterprises. Of these POs, 8 were awarded to SCBEs totaling $54,900, which is 80% of the eligible PO volume and 90% of the eligible PO dollar value. Pending any questions, I recommend approval of this resolution.
If there's no questions, move approval of 593-19.
Second.
Moved and second voting, Commissioner Grady?
Yes.
Commissioner Boyce?
Yes.
Commissioner Brown?
Yes.
Resolution number 593-19 has been adopted.
Thank you.
Thank you. Board of Commissioners, we are having our second public hearing. Can the clerk please read the public hearing?
Public hearing, this is the second. Resolution levying permissive increases related to the transfer of real property and manufactured homes for the purpose of addressing the need to create additional affordable housing in Franklin County.
Thank you. And before we get started, I would like to thank everyone for being here, who's here for the public hearing. And with that, we'll get started. Good morning,
Good morning.
Director Schimmer.
Morning, Commissioners. We have worked through our technical issue here, so I'm really happy to be here this morning representing economic development and planning, but also bringing forward a really important issue which relates to Franklin County's position in affordable housing. My name is James Schimmer. I'm Economic Development Director of Franklin County, and what we want to talk about this morning is the affordable housing framework and conveyance fee issue that we would like to move forward here this morning. So, Commissioners, I'm going to work with Zach Telerik on this, and I want to, first of all, set the issue and frame the issue for you this morning, and that really relates to this concern that we have about housing affordability in Franklin County, and especially the need. As you know, we're an incredibly vibrant and growing central Ohio area and city, but Franklin County itself has grown tremendously, and there is the need of 54,000 housing units. And currently, of those units, they are 54,000 county housing units or households are paying 50% of their income on housing. So let me just say that again. 54,000 county households pay more than 50% of their household income on housing. There's a deficit of 6,000 housing units not being built each year. Currently, recommended efforts that we look at really relate to approximately $17 million being invested annually by Franklin County in housing. That's an annual number. So currently, for the public's understanding, we put $17 million into in housing each year. We have a new framework that we're going to look to add some dollars to that over the next 10 years, and we want to try and get to a total of 2,050 new units of housing. Zach, would you talk about the actual conveyance fee breakdown?
Yeah, so in Franklin County, so we collect the $1 mandatory that's set by state and currently a $1 permissive fee. That permissive fee is projected to collect between $6.5 to $7 million a year in revenue has since 2017. The current permissive fee does go, 50% of those collections are allocated to the Affordable Housing Trust and the other 50% to the Community Shelter Board in terms of the permissive fee collections.
Go ahead, sorry.
Oh, no, go ahead.
No, I just wanted to point out that the conveyance fee, in terms of the breakdown, each dollar of the conveyance fee raises approximately $6.5 million a year. So with that, Zach, you want to take that next bullet point?
Yeah, so in terms of the other metro counties, 4 of the other 5 metro counties in Ohio, so that would be Summit, Hamilton, Cuyahoga, and Lucas, have maxed out at the full $4, with Montgomery County currently collecting 2 of the 3 permissive dollars, so they still have $1 of capacity.
And in total, you look statewide, there's a lag in the data. But our research shows that there are at least 53 counties out of 88 that are currently at the maximum amount allowed by law as far as the conveyance fee is concerned, the permissive amount.
I'm sorry if I may, because I feel like I heard you say something that's different on the screen. You said that the law allows for $4?
That includes with the mandatory, I apologize.
Okay.
So the total is for the $1 mandatory plus up to 3 additional dollars that counties can levy on top of that dollar.
Okay, so we wouldn't be maxed out then?
Correct.
That says we would be, go back to that slide, please. The last slide. This says we would be maxed, says such an action would max Franklin County out, but that we wouldn't be.
With $2,
$2.
we would be maxed out.
Commissioner Boyd, yes.
$1 doesn't max us
Right.
out.
Okay.
$2 maxes us out. And 4 of the 5 metro counties are currently maxed out. 53 of the 88 counties are maxed out.
Got you.
So, Commissioners, moving forward a little bit, one of the things that you challenged my department, Economic Development and Planning, to do was to really look at an economic development strategic plan. And that plan has provided broad policy guidance. One of the major focuses that the Economic Development Strategic Plan looked at was affordable housing throughout Franklin County. Second item was that Economic Development and Planning was challenged then to author, an affordable housing implementation framework to recommend to the Commissioners. And that's what we're doing here this morning. And the third piece was that the framework has really 3 component parts I'd like to bring forward this morning to you. Those are, as I mentioned earlier, preserving the current county funding for housing. So again, coming back and remembering what I said earlier, approximately $17 million in county funding is directed to county housing residents' needs currently. And those go into programs like homelessness, emergency solutions, seniors, home repair, fair housing compliance, and affordable housing units. So we are currently definitely engaged and have been for a number of years in the housing arena as it is now. The second core consideration was that new housing incentives and zoning updates are needed. Community reinvestment areas, known as CRA tax abatements, in unincorporated townships for new build units will utilize low-income housing tax credits. Additionally, consideration would be that tax increment financing in unincorporated counties, townships, be used for developments that include new and new or rehabilitation of affordable units. There are a number of units in the county currently that exist. They're fine. They just need to be rehabbed, and we need to look at those. Additionally, utilizing the Columbus-Franklin County Finance Authority's capacities to lower building costs, we would consider the option of providing additional financing incentives for low-income housing tax credits in new builds. That would be a situation where we might consider a sales tax exemption for the units. Finally, one of the very important aspects of affordable housing in Franklin County really looks at and understands the idea that our zoning code plays an important part of laying out the integral framework for how land gets developed. We do zoning in 10 of the 17 townships. We believe that the zoning code needs to be upgraded in order to allow for more affordable housing. Now, Commissioners, a third core consideration is these are the things that we want to suggest to you as well. And we want to talk about some new county funding initiatives. First of which would be the County Land Trust. Currently, in partnership with the Central Ohio Community Improvement Corporation and the City of Columbus, the County Land Trust has been established through the Community Improvement Corporation of Central Ohio. What that does is it will preserve home ownership affordability through multiple generations. And this is really important. We know we've heard gentrification used a lot, where a neighborhood is rehabbed and buildings are renovated, and then suddenly the people who live there can no longer afford to live there. This is a method and a really unique solution to try and make sure that the affordability stays with the property going forward, and that's a critical component to it. Additionally, we're going to propose something called the County Magnet Fund. And that magnet fund will fund and leverage 4% low-income housing tax credits and other state, local, and federal resources that are currently being left on the table. We want to make certain that we have the ability to, as Assistant Administrator Janice says, and I always like this term, the stacking of financing sources, the stacking of hands is needed. And this would allow us to do that. Additionally, it'll induce the building of new affordable units within Franklin County. And Commissioners, this is our service area. So when we look at Franklin County as a whole, the program that we're proposing to you this morning with the conveyance fee relates to these service areas. So in the unincorporated areas of Franklin County, the target that we will have is new county affordable housing tax incentives. So we're proposing tax incentives in those areas. The balance of the county we will address with our current housing and urban development funds, CDBG funds that we are getting in. And then countywide, the program that we're proposing to you will touch on two other areas. The land trust, as I've mentioned to you, and the new magnet fund, so that we have the ability to participate in housing deals in a meaningful way. And I think that's one of the major things that I want to just leave as a point. The goal of getting to affordable housing takes numerous financing mechanisms and levels. This is something that is not easy to do. It's complicated, but we have tried to make certain that in our program, the program that we're submitting to you, that we're surgical in how we participate and how we put county money into these programs so that we can create more affordable housing units. Again, the goal is over 2,000 units a year that we're looking at. And what we want to try and do, commissioners, if you so choose to move forward with this program, we'll really look at a proposed plan that staff will convene a working group to try and get workshops put together that will actually put the details in place to make this program move forward. So that is my presentation for this morning, and certainly any questions that you might have.
Jim, 2,000 units a year over how many years?
We would be looking at 10 years, and again, a framework that would include up to $65 million over that 10-year period.
And that's just the county's portion of this
Yes.
proposal, not anything to do with our partners at the city or in the business
That's
community.
correct. I misspoke annually. It's not annually. It's over a 10-year period. So.
Can you talk a little bit about the other efforts that are going on with the business community and Morpsey's work with the city and how we're participating in those approaches as well?
Again, one of the best things that's going on currently is the idea that we really have a regional effort underway. As you mentioned, Commissioner, through the Mid-Ohio Regional Planning Association, we are looking at, we are looking at a program that looks at a region-wide housing plan. It's important to understand that kind of if you step back for a second, the public should understand that this has been a very dedicated and very diligent effort. So it started with the City of Columbus, and the City of Columbus did an affordability study themselves. They looked at their tax incentive programs and how those programs worked for affordable housing, put together a program and looked at that and suggested that there should be some private sector involvement. The private sector did stand up recently with $50 million. City voters included a bond issue this past spring for affordable housing. So that set the city's course. We're setting the county's course or proposing to you a course for how the county can participate. And then on a regional basis, MORPC, the Mid-Ohio Regional Planning Commission, is looking at a program that will involve how we do affordable housing on a regional basis. So we cover a large geographic area in this method.
So what we're really looking at, Jim, is a regional and each of our jurisdictions that are focusing on housing are looking at how our residents throughout the region can get into affordable living spaces. We're focused in a laser-like way on our residents in Franklin County and our families in Franklin County getting into housing that's more affordable for them.
Affordable Housing Commissioner knows no geographic boundaries
And I know
or political
that.
boundaries.
Absolutely.
And so, yeah, that is the method that we are going to try and get at, looking at a region-wide basis. And the truth of the matter is, whether you're in the city of Columbus or whether you're in Franklin County, we are only as strong as our region is.
Absolutely.
And you guys have, as commissioners, have illustrated that to us as staff for a number of years. And again, I'd like to think that, as I said earlier, standing back, this has been a very strategic process. And so I know certainly you take the investment of public dollars very importantly, but I'd like to be able to say that we have done a good job and a really solid job at making the case for how we might be able to do this and where we fit strategically.
Where we fit, I think, is important.
A couple of questions, Director. One, can I get a copy of the presentation too?
Absolutely.
I know I have the report, but I just like these slides the way you've done them, so I could use that for something. And then secondly, so forgive my ignorance, but so for zoning code in townships and unincorporated areas, does the county set zoning policy or code in the townships?
Absolutely, we do. Yep.
So I know we vote on this, but we actually can actually set the code.
Yes.
Change the code. Oh,
Absolutely.
okay. Learned something new today. All right. And then secondly, can you talk about you used the term, you said we're going to leverage the 4% LIHTC funds. But to explain what you mean by that. I mean, I know what LIHTC funds are, but I'm saying explain the leveraging, how we're going to use our resources to work with the LIHTC funds.
So, Commissioner, in the simplest way possible, there are two forms of participation that we can get on state tax credits, a 9% tax credit and a 4% tax credit. The 9% is competitive, so developers compete for that 9% because it's actually a better deal for them and brings more equity to the table in terms of making the deal happen. The 4% has gone relatively unused. And the process has been that the difference between the 4 and the 9% is something that developers have been a little squeamish about. And our goal is to try and reduce that gap in terms of the difference between 9% and 4%. The development community has told us very clearly that if we do that, there will be more deals in affordable housing for Franklin County if we can help them, again, meet this stacking of hands of the financing components that we need to do. And we have taken a lot of good advice and I guess direction, not only from private sector developers who we met with, but also with our nonprofit partners. And that is an important part of what we bring to you today, an educated proposal, I guess is what I'm saying. So
but LIHTC is a tax credit, and so are we going to, I'm still confused about how, so the funds could be used to enhance the tax credit?
Not enhance the deal, I guess is what I would say. It is going to be money that will be put into the deal to make that difference. The 4% will be the 4%.
I got you. Okay, okay.
So I guess what I'd say is maybe the term might be gap. We would fill that gap and be able to make that a stronger deal. It will be a 4% deal.
What we're doing is incentivizing the use of the 4% LIHTC.
Yes.
That it makes it more. It won't be the equivalent of 5 or 6%, but it will enhance the transaction altogether. And any developer would, I think, be appreciative or interested in
Right.
that.
Your question started out with leverage, and this is a perfect example of that.
Yeah, good.
I think the easiest way I look at it is the tax credit creates equity, and that equity becomes one of the funding sources in the stacking of the capital to make the project happen. And the more partners that you have, the greater leveraging that you could get. For example, that's why there are project caps being recommended, because that moves us towards the goal of the 200 units per year. If we went all in at a higher level per project, we won't be able to leverage as many affordable units each year.
Yeah, I get it. I guess what I was really kind of trying to structure was the actual transaction, which, so it really, I think what Director Schimmer was kind of describing was, you got the transactions, 4% tax credit, and theoretically, we would do like a grant to the transaction that, to use your term, that would enhance the equity in the deal for the developer, and I think that's smart. I think it's a good way to do it.
Yep, the staff in the framework itself laid out what some of those scenarios look like in detail.
I mean, and the reason why that becomes so critical is because I feel like in some areas, I won't call any names out, regions of this, sectors of this region, you have a different type of housing where the affordability standard is a little different than, say, another part of town, and so the costs might be higher, and so having that grant could offset some of those build-out costs that, so if you're doing all stone exteriors because that's what, is in the region or something, then it could offset the cost a little bit to do the deal. So that's interesting.
Administrator Wilson's point was the one that really I want to come back to, because I was talking about the stacking of hands. What I'm trying to say there is that generally, in order for these deals to come, we need a lot of players. The capital stack, however, is the real words that we should be using, because that is where we need to insert ourselves in a different way than we have ever before.
It's non-traditional. This would be definitely non-traditional use of funds, so it's interesting.
Cool.
We do have some speakers that want to be heard. Jim, do you have anything else you?
I don't, Commissioner, unless you have any other questions.
We're going to
Probably
get,
Stay at the dais, though.
yeah, you should probably stay there in case there are questions that need your expertise. We have several speakers today, and I would encourage our speakers to be brief, remarks limited to at the most 4 minutes, and to the topic at hand. And we'll start with Stephen Glassman.
Mr. Gladman.
Mr. Glassman.
Gladman.
And I'm sorry, Gladman, if you would please state your name and organization.
Steve Gladman, I work for the Affordable Housing Trust for Columbus.
Thank you.
Good morning, President Brown, Commissioner Brady,
Is the mic on?
The Affordable Housing Trust is a nonprofit corporation established in 2001 to provide specialized financing to developers of affordable housing. The Affordable Housing Trust receives funding from Franklin County, as you know, and from the city of Columbus. On behalf of the trustees of the Affordable Housing Trust, I want to thank the county commissioners and residents of Franklin County for their confidence in the Affordable Housing Trust, and more importantly, for your long-term support of affordable housing. As stated in the Affordable Housing Implementation Framework presented to the county commissioners in May of this year, you're currently providing $17 million annually in investments, $9 million for housing finance and funding, and $8 million for needed supportive services. For the past 18 years, you've made investments along with the city. Those investments have allowed the trust to do $200 million in below market loans and create or preserve 11,000 units of affordable housing. So much has been done, but there's still more to do. Recent housing studies and population growth estimates demonstrate the need and justification to commit additional resources now. Based on other cities, notably Austin and Seattle, deferring investment in affordable housing is a formula for a long-term housing affordability crisis. It's never an easy decision to increase fees or taxes. I was here in 2005 when a different commission addressed this issue and had a little different role in it, so I can kind of feel both sides of the equation. Those increases should only occur after thoughtful consideration regarding the impact of those paying for the increase, as well as the benefit that increase will result. I believe that there is evidence for both the need and benefit of a dollar increase in the conveyance fee at this time. The increased funding will be meaningful, but we cannot lose sight of the root of the affordable housing challenge is the income of our residents. Besides producing more housing, we must address wages and continue to improve low-cost, no-cost public mobility options. I commend the commissioners and the staff of the Development Department for your work in addressing affordable housing. And I will attempt to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you.
Thanks, Steve.
Thank you.
Sister Barbara Kane.
I hope it works now.
Oh, I think it does.
Sounds fantastic.
Yay, Robin.
Good morning. I'm Sister Barbara Kane. I'm a Dominican Sister of Peace, and I am here representing the sisters, but also the Bread Organization. And we are very grateful that you are seriously considering raising the conveyance fee by $1 and ask that you consider raising it to the full amount allowed, the $2, and that you designate it for the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. I really want to put a face to this issue. We've talked about units, we've talked about areas, but we're talking about people. And so I think that's what's important here. Providing a more affordable housing would ensure that it goes towards building affordable housing for people like my nephew. He is just completing his graduate degree. And even with a professional degree, his salary would not enable him to live in most of the housing being built today. And there are a lot of young professional people moving into this area. Affordable housing would also help one of the students I taught at the Dominican Learning Center. It's a literacy and English as a second language center on the south side of Columbus. She is a single mother with 2 children working hard to complete her GED. With the jobs that she can get currently without a GED, she can barely afford subsidized housing. She wants an affordable home in a safe neighborhood so that her children can play without fear. Affordable housing would also help another student who had to remove his family from subsidized housing because of black mold. Unfortunately, when he left, the family was no longer eligible for public housing, and so they spent some time in homeless shelters. He had to drop out of his GED program. New, clean, affordable housing would allow him to continue his studies, and his family would be able to live in a healthy environment. Affordable housing from the Affordable Trust Fund could also help some of our English as a second language students who have lived and worked legally in Columbus, but who may lose the opportunity to get citizenship if they live in public housing or take any kind of public assistance. Please help the many, many people in Columbus, young and old, single and families, to get affordable housing by raising the conveyance fee by $2 and giving the funds to the Affordable Housing Trust. Now I have a question. Let's say that you do raise the conveyance fee to the maximum and send the money to the Housing Trust. In the future, you could change the policy and use the money elsewhere if the need arose. Is this correct? Anybody know? I think what we're saying is that there might be some hesitation now to give all the money to the Affordable Trust, because what if the homeless board needs it in the future? Do you have that option to make some changes to it?
The hesitation is more about maxing out our one resource that we can control in a way that we don't want to max it out. The only way that policy at the state level changes is out of our control. It's not something that's within our control, and our colleagues in other counties that have maxed out their conveyance fee are not very happy that they don't have any bandwidth right now to make changes. And we can't count on the General Assembly at the State House to increase that conveyance fee, and we are very responsible in governing, and we're not going to max out. I think I speak for my colleagues. I'm speaking for myself right now. I am not willing to max out a resource that we may need in the future or a future board may need. That's where I am with not wanting to max out that precious resource of the conveyance fee.
May I ask a follow-up question? If it sounds to me like with the plan and the other partners that if you invested increased it to $2 now, and the partnerships became strong enough to add enough money, could you reduce the amount in the future? So could you say, we've been giving $2, now we want to move it, we don't need to do the $2 now, we want to move it back to $1. Is that feasible?
That is a budgetary decision that is under the purview of commissioners under law currently. I think what President Brown is emphasizing is by maxing out, it creates challenges as far as the commissioner's discretion to respond to community needs in the future as it relates to homelessness prevention and affordable housing matters. Because once they take that action, if they were to take that action under existing state law, there would be no additional capacity to direct towards this challenge. And this is a challenge in the community that is not going anywhere.
It's not going away.
As you know, when we look at the key to Franklin County and strengthening our community, we got to look at housing, we look at health, we look at the creation of, as was mentioned by Mr. Gladden, we had a challenge of creating better paying jobs to give our residents the support they need to truly have a sustainable life in raising their families, as well as the challenges associated with our youth. So at the time we're discussing this proposal, this is just one of the things that the Franklin County Commissioners are working on to improve the quality of life of our residents. We are also at the same time committed to the Rise Together Franklin County Poverty Blueprint, and there'll be a lot of work that will spill over and connect with housing. And again, as you stated, it's not just Franklin County government alone that's taking on this challenge and has a sense of accountability to find solutions as it relates to the 54,000 units we are short. If the commissioners approve this action, this combined with current efforts, we will be nearing $24 million annually in our investment. Our partners in the city of Columbus had a recent bond issue that would commit another $50 million. And the private sector also is working on creating an additional $100 million fund that can be leveraged. So the community at large is working towards finding solutions. In Franklin County, we're trying to do what we can in a responsible, sustainable manner to address this issue, as well as the additional things that the commissioners have to fund each year.
Thank you.
Sister, thank you very much for being here today. You asked about putting a personal face on this. And we can all relate to that. We all have very similar stories. I have a 22-year-old daughter that's just recently graduated from college. She's looking for a job in professional sports, a job that will take her likely to another city, a job that will likely start her out with a very, very low salary, probably below the poverty line. She'll have to find a place to live in that city, whatever city that is, and she'll have to probably find an affordable housing unit. And as parents, that's very concerning to us. We've got to figure out how that's going to happen and how we can help her do that. She's also got younger siblings. And so as we look towards how to manage this, I've talked to our colleagues in the other metropolitan counties in the state who are very unhappy with the situation that they're in, maxed out on the conveyance fee. And they don't have the very nice problem that we have in this community of projected growth. And so here we are faced with having to partner with or gladly partnering with our friends at the city and in the business community. Doing our part to the tune of nearly $70 million over the next 10 years. Very significant amount of money. And granted, we could max out and we could do more. But if we do that, what am I going to say to my 11-year-old who is going to be faced in another 10 years with the same type of decisions if we have no ability to be able to help her and her generation, her cohort, when there's still a shortage of affordable housing? What are we going to say to the babies of today? My senior advisor Annie Risnar just had a baby a month and a half ago. Her little boy Dylan. What are we going to say to him? What are we going to say to the kids that are yet to be unborn? There's going to be 30, or over the next 30 years, there's going to be another 1 million people here in Central Ohio. We've got to plan for that. We've got to plan for those folks that are coming. And if we max this out now, we don't have that arrow in the quiver. We don't have the ability to be able to address them. And it would, I just believe, and I've said it before and I've continued to say it and I'll say it again, you know, I wasn't planning on saying anything today or saying much today, but it just would be, I believe, very, very irresponsible of us as a board, as a panel, for us to use that extra dollar now when we have, and then handcuff us into the future, handcuff this board, handcuff a future board of commissioners into the future, when we know that this is going to be an issue, because we've got a growing community. The Dispatch did a story last year on what's the future going to look like, and they, you know, the reporter asked, you know, he was talking about, you know, Jetson type of futuristic things, and I said, look, you know, you're asking a county commissioner. We don't get into that type of stuff, but what we do get into is providing services, and so we've got to be ready to prepare for those services into the future. So I want to talk about how do we prepare for, you know, providing housing? How do we prepare for, you know, providing for children into the future? How do we provide for, you know, providing for senior citizens into the future? How are we going to do this, you know, 30 and 50 years from now if this community grows the way it's going to grow? And so that was what my comments for his article were all about, were how do we do those things? And this is one of those things. And if we max this thing out next Tuesday when we all come back here to vote on this, you know, I think it would be an incredibly irresponsible thing for us to do.
I'll just add to one, thank you, Sister, for your testimony today. We value and appreciate your input, and certainly your questions are legitimate questions, and thanks for being here. I just add, for me, I would, I'm slightly in a different perspective on a couple things. One, I'm open to the use of the conveyance fee, but let me just zero in on something. It's my belief that affordable housing is one element of challenges that people in poverty face. And if you don't have a system around the affordable housing element, then you sort of zero out the affordable housing piece. And so just like with the poverty blueprint, our goal is to zero in on all of the things that sort of allow people to move from one economic, you know, rung to the next. And that's really what this conversation is about. It's one thing to subsidize housing or to subsidize public transit or whatever. It's another thing to really zero in on taking families to that next level. And so personally, I'd be open to the use of conveyance fees for that kind of mitigation. But I want to just zero in on Commissioner Brown's point, which is a very good point, and that's Commissioner O'Grady made as well, and that's the long-term capacity and use and decisions we have to make. And one area that we haven't talked about is how when you max out on permissive fees or taxes or whatever we have, there is an implication on our credit rating, and that impact is much greater, much long-term, and it will affect everything we do. And so rating agencies come in and look at all the things that you have capacity to move, and when you're maxed out, it's kind of a ding, like a strike on you, and they say you know, and so it could cost us, you know, in the big scheme of things, that could cost us long term. And so we just have to be thoughtful. I think Commissioner Brown said it well. We have to be thoughtful about the decisions we make today that have implications long term, and the credit rating is something that we've got to manage that well, because once it's impacted, it's very hard to take it back the other way. Once it goes down, it's very hard to get it back up. And so I think it's a legitimate question, and like I said, personally, I'd be open to the use of more conveyance fees for poverty mitigation in the big scheme of things. But I agree with my colleagues. We've got to be very thoughtful about that use, and I hope the residents appreciate that thoughtfulness as we consider. And that's why we're having these hearings. We want to hear from you. We'll hear from the public, and then we'll deliberate. I will tell you, I've not made a decision on whether I'm supporting the $1 fee, let alone $2. And so, because I need to hear more, and I need to understand more, and I need to understand our what we're going to do with the money, and that this is the only course of action that we have, or what are our options, and so that's what we're learning now. My colleagues are a little more informed on this than I, because they've been here longer, but I'm still learning, trying to understand just how the county, what are other resources, and do we have to do this? Can we just take out the general fund? Can we do? I don't know, but that, your input is as valuable as Director Schimmer's is in my own decision-making process. So thanks for being here today.
We have a few more speaker slips here, and speakers. Robert Williams. Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
My name is Robert Williams. I'm the Director of Residential Services at Mid-Ohio Regional Planning Commission, otherwise known as MORPC. My department provides weatherization services for low-income residents and home repair for moderate-income residents. In that role, we're working with families on a daily basis, trying to reduce their energy costs while making their homes safer as well. We see firsthand how many of them struggle to make ends meet when it comes to living in safe and quality environments. When you add energy costs and transportation costs to their rent and home ownership costs, many are spending over 50% in their income, as was mentioned before. As part of our services, we provide replacement of furnaces, hot water tanks. We'll check individuals' gas lines to make sure that their homes are safe. We'll also replace non-energy efficient refrigerators as well as light bulbs. So these are all things that go to help individuals who are low or moderate income be able to stay in their homes and maintain low energy costs. As a growing region, we're demonstrating a lot of success right now. Yet we still have a lot of people who are living in or near poverty and can't find affordable, safe housing. As we are trying to prepare for our continued population growth, we need to make sure that we have quality housing available for those that need it today and in the future. We need to make sure we have all types of housing and housing at all price points. MORPC is excited that Franklin County is a partner in the regional housing strategy that just kicked off last week. We have a diverse advisory board of over 50 members. As you know, the goal of the regional housing strategy is to foster a housing market where every household with a full-time wage earner can obtain housing in the private market, and if they can't, we need to figure out a way to effectively supplement the market where we cannot achieve that goal. We are working with the consultant team to identify the existing and future housing supply and demand by different price points, review structural impediments to building more affordable housing, and research financial and investment strategies locally and across the nation. At its conclusion next spring, we hope to have a coordinated housing strategy for the region that includes investment and policy recommendations that will support mixed income neighborhoods and regional growth, and that has specific targets that are measurable over a course of time. We applaud you for all of your efforts and initiatives to move the needle on affordable housing and poverty in general. And we'd just like to thank you for being a partner and leader in this area and for allowing us to make some brief remarks for MORPC.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Brad DeHaze.
Bless you.
Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Brad DeHaze. I own Connect Real Estate. I'm a for-profit developer here in Columbus, Ohio. I've been working closely with economic development as they've gone and conducted interviews for this the program approach that they put together, and I really want to applaud Director Schimmer, Eric Janis, and Alex Barris, who helped craft the program. I think the key thing here over the last few years is, I guess, the realization as to how far behind we are in affordable housing. The 54,000 unit shortage by the Affordable Housing Alliance is a real number. The economic burden of more than 50% of their annual gross income going towards rent with inflation sometime in the future is not going to get any better. We're growing that number of the need of affordable housing at about 4,500 units a year. And just to put it into perspective, one of our most respected affordable housing developers in Columbus, Homeport, who's a nonprofit, they have 250 units scheduled to be constructed in the next 3 years. 250. The 9% low-income housing tax credit program is profitable. However, the scoring system for it right now pushes affordable housing development for that program out into rural areas outside of the county. These rural districts also are in need. So we don't see that turning back around, pushing 9% deals back into Columbus. So when we look at how many low-income housing units do we get per year right now, the 9% deals, 150, 200 units, it's a real problem. So getting out ahead of it, I really want to applaud you and applaud your economic development, because they're actually looking at collaborating, they're looking at coordinating efforts. I think one of the largest pieces here, I am in support of increasing the conveyance fee, but the additional $7 million a year is one component of many that are going to be needed to bridge this gap. I think one of the most important attributes, though, to look at are existing programs that are unlimited. The 4% low-income housing tax credit program is an underutilized program because of the gap. It is unlimited. You can go and we could develop 1,000 units next year. However, the 9% deal it fills the gap. It actually covers the cost. You can get it done. The 4% program, there is a gap typically of 20 to 30% of the project that, due to the fact that you can't get institutional debt significant enough to build a project, that creates a gap. The reason why you can't get institutional debt to build a project is because the benefit lies exactly where it should. It lies with the tenant. Mm-hmm. The rents are low, so the value of the project in a bank's perspective is low. It's based on income. So the funds that go out for this conveyance fee increase are going to go towards that gap that in the end benefits tenants. And I'm for a transactional fee increase like this, because if you think about transactional real estate, the economic burden of vast increases in affordable housing are going to create an economic burden on homeowners that are selling their real estate. So as we fee transactional real estate, you're actually putting the cost where it should be. So I want to applaud you for thinking this way. I know the City of Columbus is thinking this way. I know Morpsey is here, they're represented, and I'm here to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you.
Thanks, Brad.
John Myers. Good morning.
Excuse me. Good morning. Commissioner, President Brown, Commissioners Boyce and O'Grady, and Administrator Wilson. I am John Myers, the 2019 President of Columbus Realtors. Columbus Realtors represents over 8,000 realtors in Central Ohio. On behalf of our members, I want to thank you and staff, specifically Jim Schimmer, Eric Janis, and Alex Burris, for your hard work on tackling housing affordability. Your thoughtful approach, countless meetings with interested parties and stakeholders, decisive action, and reasonable approach is to be applauded. Columbus Realtors is grateful to have been included in conversations from the beginning. Although we don't have a formal position on the conveyance fee increase, I can stand here today and tell you our membership fully recognize that we must be part of the housing affordability solution. Columbus Realtors Foundation recently made a $300,000 commitment to the South Side Renaissance, which supported rehabilitation of 45 single-family affordable homes, along with another $40,000 donated this year to local nonprofit housing organization as a small part of our commitment to housing affordability. The average Franklin County sales price June of this year was $253,000, which with the proposed increase would cost property owners an additional $253 per transaction. Continuing to burden property owners with additional fees and costs at all levels of governments is something our organization and members take seriously. We recognize raising fees is never easy and rarely popular. However, nearly 14 years ago, Columbus Realtors supported the additional dollar increase as it went to support housing affordability, specifically the Affordable Housing Trust and Community Shelter Board. Although simply due to timing, we are unable to take a position today, I can confidently say that any increase in the conveyance fee on property owners should only be allocated to supporting housing affordability. As we've mentioned previously in interested party meetings, subsidies, allocations to non-housing affordability entities or causes, or doubling the current conveyance fee from $2 to $4 may cause us to reevaluate our position as we move forward on this issue. However, it is our understanding that these issues are not being considered. Again, I want to reiterate our commitment to housing affordability, not only through our continued community financial commitment, but also by being a good community partner. Again, thank you, each of you and your staff, for your due diligence, thoughtful approach, and a reasonable recommendation on such an important issue impacting our communities, county, and region. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Curtis Williams.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
I'm so happy to be here. My name is Curtis Williams. I'm president of the Central Ohio Community Improvement Corporation, COSIC, and I'm here to speak in favor of the increase in the conveyance fee. As you well know, COSIC is serving as a Franklin County Land Bank, and we continue to partner with many communities and other nonprofit organizations to remove blight and revitalize many neighborhoods throughout Franklin County. We have also provided nearly $3 million in grants and loans to assist in the development of affordable housing. We know the critical nature of housing in our community and the lack of affordable housing, where too many residents are paying far more for their housing needs than they should. For those reasons, with your support and that of the City of Columbus, we created the Central Ohio Community Land Trust. The Land Trust will provide assistance to those qualified buyers in income levels of $40,000 to $80,000 to buy new homes. Our model of leasing the land to the homeowner, providing financial assistance to the buyer, and sharing the equity if and when the property is sold is structured to keep the home affordable for the long haul. And this is very important, we will be assisting people in buying homes that they would not otherwise be able to afford. Already, we will be signing agreements with nonprofit and for-profit developers to build approximately 45 to 50 homes within the next 18 months. And we literally just opened our doors months ago. We just recently celebrated the construction of our first trust home 2 weeks ago. We are in conversations with townships, villages, and small towns throughout the county regarding building new buildings or homes in their communities. Part of our education is we are requiring that interested buyers go through a home buyer training process and get pre-qualified to buy a trust home. Interest has been very high as we continue to do public outreach to educate folks about the trust, and we are in the process of scheduling a series of continuing education classes with the Board of Realtors. We see them as being critical partners in this endeavor. Early on, we also created an advisory group consisting of those stakeholders participating in housing and community development, such as banks and other financing groups, nonprofit developers, and public officials. The increase in the conveyance fee will allow the Land Trust and other affordable housing providers to literally up their game in providing safe, affordable housing to those currently in need and those new folks that we expect to move into our community sometime in the very near future. Thank you for what you do, and thank you for the opportunity to share.
Thank you, Curtis. Is there anyone else in the audience that wishes to speak on this public hearing? Okay. This closes today's public hearing on the issue, and we have a third and final public hearing next Tuesday, August 20th, at the end of general session. So with that, do we have any journalizations? We are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
The zoning meeting today? Let's see. When is the zoning meeting? I know, yeah.